Can't believe I'm saying this, but here I am in Scotts Valley, California, and I've been invited by Fox to their HQ to show you guys what they've been working on for their model year 2025 launch. Now we're going to be looking at products from Raceface and Fox themselves, and we're going to head inside and check out their test lab, and we're going to speak to some of the industry experts who can really explain for us in detail what they've been working on. Now I know that there's some really quite special updates which I'm sure you're going to be interested in. I'm really excited. Let's go inside and take a look. Whilst other riders assembled their bikes ready for a few days of California's finest trails, I was greeted by a very shiny Turbo Levo, kindly arranged and delivered by Specialized just in time for our arrival. Now this press camp had over 50 guests from all over the world of bike media, and Fox were kind enough to give us access to their test lab. It's extremely rare for Fox to allow guests behind the scenes, and their lab technicians were more than happy to show us the development process in their lab. Now, the part I was really excited for. Overnight, the mechanics at Fox fettled with our bikes, and we were greeted by something really quite special that I was not prepared for. The limited edition Podium Gold Fox 38s, sporting the new Grip X2 damper. They also threw on a Raceface turbine wheel set and a set of the new 2025 era carbon bars, cut to our requested size, 780mm in my case. I'll be doing a review of those soon, as there's far more than meets the eye. Here's a quick clip from my conversation with marketing manager Sean to provide a little more info on the new forks.
It's a very special powder coat process. We wanted it to really look premium and bling, and we wanted to tie into the Kashima so that it kind of looked like you dipped the whole fork in Kashima coat. Being a 38, you've got all the features you would expect, the bleeders, the floating axle, the channels. Another thing that makes this particular fork so exciting, it's actually got an all-new damper in it as well.
Putting aside the eye-catching paintwork, that new Grip X2 damper is the big revelation with this fork. So without any time to waste, it was time to load up our trucks and head out to Santa Cruz's finest trails to try and find out whether the new tech was just an awkward stumble or a giant leap forward in suspension development. The full conversation with Sean will be uploaded as a podcast shortly.
The sat down climb?
Yeah.
I get ridiculed for my sit down climb.
So, finally let loose on the famous Santa Cruz trails, and conditions were prime. Despite a particularly wet March, the trails had been dry for several days before our arrival. Subsequently, the level of grip was almost perfect, almost like Fox had planned it. Sadly, I can't say exactly where we were riding, but it came highly recommended, and it didn't take us long to find out why.
You ready, Mike?
Oh, wow. So good. Hey. Carnage. What a playground.
We damn sure know where we've been, but we don't know where we're going. Give me a black cycle, give me flavor, vinyl and some cheap aviators from 65.
Yeah.
Give me snake skin, blue skull, swaying like a noose, and I'll be clinging to the back of this Indian ride. Give me a black motorcycle.
Beautiful.
Give me
Oh.
a black motorcycle.
Oh, wow.
Give me a black motorcycle. Give me a black motorcycle.
Back to the UK after a fantastic trip to Scots Valley, and I think it's time to reflect on this fork and attempt to see past the overwhelming hospitality, the impeccable riding conditions, and the marketing hype from the team at Fox Factory. After all, a press camp is designed to impress, so I think it helps to take stock and break down the product into the sum of its parts. There's been a lot of carryover from the previous Gen 38 chassis, but the big update is the new Grip X2 damper. The previous Grip 2, first introduced over 6 years ago, had 7 compression valves. We now have 23 valves in total. That's a pretty big stack of shims. In short, this means a wider tuning range. If you don't already know, I'll try to explain how compression valves work. They basically push against the compression ports and create a resistance which limits the flow of oil from one chamber to the other, almost like a leaf spring on a car resisting the weight of the vehicle. The more leaves you add to the spring, the more resistance you can create. And this is something you can tune by changing the valve thickness and size, or by putting added pressure on the shims. This is what happens when you turn the dial at the top. If you want a more detailed explanation about the new Fox internals, then check out my conversation with Sean in the link above. What you really want to know is how these updates felt out on the trail. Almost immediately, I could tell the feel of the 38 was different. This may be in part because they've got new lower friction bushings in the lowers, or it's just that new fork feel. But this fork was set up for me by one of the Fox race technicians, and he actually added 6 clicks of high-speed compression. Bearing in mind, I would previously run it wide open, otherwise it just felt too harsh. So that tuning range is now usable for riders of all weights and abilities. Additionally, with more compression, this allows the fork to react much quicker to high-speed chatter and therefore maintain tyre contact with the ground. The other area that really impressed me was when I hooked up the front end in deep holes between roots, avoiding that bucking effect that can sometimes send you over the bars. Whilst riding the Levo, the fork genuinely saved me from some big offs on more than one occasion. Putting performance aside, this was extremely confidence inspiring, allowing me to push harder and ultimately ride better. So to conclude, is this the giant leap in suspension development that Fox are claiming? For now, I'll say yes. However, the use of added compression may now confuse riders trying to find the perfect setup. I needed help from one of the race technicians to get the fork performing optimally, and I think left to my own devices, it may have felt very similar to the previous generation fork. This likely says more about my resistance to change. However, this may be a limiting factor for the average rider. For someone looking for outright descending performance, this is probably the fork for you. And if you want the ultimate bling factor, then you're going to have to wait a little longer for these limited edition podium gold forks. Just 1,974 will ever exist, so they will sell out very fast when they're released this summer. A huge thank you to Fox for inviting me to this press camp, to Specialized for arranging the Levo, and to 100% for providing me with some kit for the trip.